Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women Like Me Stories and Business. Oh, I've got some special stories for you to hear today. So, I am with Michelle Cooper, and she's the founder and principal accountant at Alchemy. I don't know why I have trouble with that word. Alchemy Accounting. Now, Michelle's passion goes much further than numbers. And I'm just going to say that she has a program that she's going to tell us about because it's super interesting called Rich Life Revolution. She's got a podcast and she runs a mastermind, plus she runs an accounting business. This lady has all sorts of good information for us. So, Michelle, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Julie. I'm super excited for our conversation today.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start off by you telling us a bit more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up on the west coast of British Columbia, a hardworking commercial fisherman family. And my dad and my brothers were adamant that I would not follow in their footsteps. I
Oh,
would go to university and I would get a corporate job and, live the corporate life. And so I did that for a while, right? And traveled the world in my career, lived in Europe and Africa. I lost my mom when I was 9. So
oh,
that was a significant event, right?
yeah.
When we're talking about like women like me, losing your mom at such a young age is
Mm.
significant impact, right? And then I lost my dad when I was 26.
Oh my goodness.
And so, yeah, it was probably young to lose parents, right?
Mhm.
And feeling quite on my own, but traveled the world, had a great career, met my husband in England, had my kids there. I have 3 kids. And then when my oldest, Holly, was 4, she was like set to start full-time school in
Yeah.
England at 4, right? And she was still having a nap during the day and like
Yeah.
needed supervision to eat. So I was like, this feels really weird and young, to be at school all day at 4. We made the decision to move back to Canada, and Vancouver, high cost of living.
Yeah.
We ended up in Chilliwack. Um, and my kids grew up here. I created my business here, and things just blossomed from this place. My
Mhm.
business grew really organically. It was really it started with me helping some local business owners in understanding their numbers. And, that led to creating an advisory and an accounting and bookkeeping firm. Um, but along the way, I had to learn my own lessons about money. And
Mm.
I really had to learn, what my limiting beliefs were around money and how they were obstacles for me achieving the lifestyle I wanted, right? And so I'd probably say like 2013, 14, I really took a kind of sharp left turn into personal development and really kind of spent a lot of time working on myself and understanding my story and my
Mhm.
trauma and how it had affected me and the decisions I made. And of course, what I saw was that these things that had happened in my life had caused me to have certain beliefs. This is just how it is, right? And
Mhm.
that caused me to make certain decisions. Um, and not all of those decisions were for in my best interest, right? And really just understanding, I got to understand like my clients' experience because I would be sitting there talking to them about their numbers or helping them understand their profit and their cash flow and stuff. And I'd see them making the same mistakes over and over again. And I was like, there's something else here.
Yeah.
And I realized it was their relationship with money,
Mhm.
right? It wasn't about the actual business,
Yeah.
it was their belief system and their relationship with money. And a lot of them had a relationship that was really based on fear and scarcity and lack, guilt, shame, which kind of played into my story. And so doing the work for myself helped me help other people.
Yeah.
And then last year, I decided, I kind of got on the speaking kind of circuit and, did a bunch of speaking like 2015, 16, whatever, pre-pandemic. And then last year I decided I really like interviewing people and I really like the kind of podcast format. So I created the Rich Life Revolution podcast. And the reason I wanted to do that is because in my own experience, I found myself getting caught up in other people's version of abundance and other people's ideas of what a rich life is.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in California with a client and we had done this 2 day strategic planning thing. And then she was like, do you want to go out to the outlet mall? Like, I just feel like going for a walk and maybe some shopping, grab some food. I was like, yeah, that sounds great. We ended up at a Louboutin store. She loved Louboutin shoes. She's trying them all on. And she's like, why don't you try some on? And I'm like, no, I don't really wear heels, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not really my thing, not my style. But I found myself trying these shoes on and then kind of like everybody, in the stores, like, oh my God, and you get caught up in it.
Yes.
And all of a sudden I'm like almost like paying $2,000 for a pair of shoes that I am never gonna wear.
My goodness.
Right. And I was like,
Yes.
hang on, what's going on here? Like
Yeah.
what I don't know if you'd call it peer pressure or whatever.
Yeah.
But in reflection, I didn't end up buying the shoes, but in reflection, I realized that I was getting caught up in other people's version of what a rich life looks like, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the whole kind of, we had, it's a little bit of it now still, but like the whole kind of Instagram $1 million business, six
Yes. Yes.
figures,
Yes.
seven
Yeah.
figure,
Yeah. Yep.
all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I was totally in there.
Yeah.
Like, and I have a very successful business. So I was like drinking the Kool-Aid and living it kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? But I believe that your rich life can look like whatever you want it to look like. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to, for some people, that might mean flying private or business class or designer
Yes.
clothes.
Oh, of
For
course.
other people, it might mean I live off grid with a bunch of goats and chickens. I don't
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
not my job to judge kind of thing.
Yes.
And I wanted people to, especially women who were kind of midlife, to have some inspiration and a community
Mhm.
that allowed them to look at this for themselves, right? And I found that similar to myself, right? Like I was going through a transition.
Yeah.
My husband and I decided to separate. My business was growing, my kids were going to university. Like there was a lot of transition going on. And I was also going through a big health, situation. And so it was important, I think, for me to surround myself with other women who were facing similar things,
Mhm.
right? Like you're not so alone, especially if you're an entrepreneur. It's very isolating,
Yes.
right?
It
And
is so isolating. Yeah.
yeah, and you can think
Yes.
you're the only one that's going through this,
Yeah.
right? Or you hit menopause and you think, oh God, like, am I the only person who's suffering this thing, right? And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
promise you, you're not, but it can
Yeah.
feel that way.
Yes, it can. Yes.
Um, so the mastermind grew out of the podcast. Um, and yeah, just
I think it's so interesting how you had that life, but and the skills that you developed through university and education and then your business are the ones that you're now helping other women with.
hmm.
I mean, it seems like a natural fit for you.
Yeah, for sure, right? Because like I said, there's the accounting piece, right? Like
Yes.
there's the, things have to balance
Yeah.
and we have to record income and expenses and stuff like that. But then there's the piece underneath that is even
Mhm.
more important, right?
Yes.
There's the
Yes.
reason why we're making the decisions we're making, right?
Yes.
And there's a
Yes.
lot of things that come into
Yes.
play in
Yeah.
regards to that, right? And also, where are we getting caught up in somebody else's vision of what life is supposed to look like at wherever we're at in our lives?
Yes. I love that. That's so true because it's it's almost like, what are you keeping up with the Joneses for?
Totally.
Yeah, like they're not even, you're not even wanting to do their thing. And then on the other side though, you get those the women, I think the fear of money, but they don't even realize it. I've got a friend who said many times, well, I just want to be comfortable. Okay, well but you can't tell me what comfortable means.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
what does that mean for you to be comfortable?
Yeah. I had a
Yeah.
client who said to me, just really like flippantly in passing, more money, more problems. And I was like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
we gotta look at that, right? Because
Yes.
if that's what you truly believe,
Yes.
then of course you're gonna self-sabotage and not make more money.
Of course.
Right. And it's
Of
not all about
course.
the money, right? Like I don't really care how much you make, right?
No, of course. Of course. But we have to be able to. This is what I tell people. We live in Canada. We have to have money to survive.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. We don't, we can't just, you can't just go and live off the grid. It doesn't, well, I guess you could
If
try,
even
but
if you did, you'd
even if
still
you did,
need some money.
you still need some money. Absolutely. Yes. And so it's okay to have money. It's okay to want to have money. My mom was the worst. My mom was, oh, those bloody rich people, blah, 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 like that kind of stuff. Just like,
Mhm.
oh my goodness. And which makes you, as you grow up like that, then you think, oh, the rich people are not nice. They're nasty people. But no, they're not. They're perfectly normal and they're nice and they're kind and generous and all of those kind of things. So the messages we hear as we grow up, and then even as an adult, the excuses we make, and whether I just want to be comfortable is an excuse not to have to step out of the comfort zone and do more. I don't know, but
Yeah.
but there's so many great things in the world, and great lives, but we have to be able to eat. I would say I'd rather eat a steak than a hot dog if I have a choice.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, you must see a lot of, I'm curious now. So how do your women and clients for your accounting business? So how do you find they differ, or do they differ?
Well, I think that often the business owner has kind of created a business or fallen into a business
Hmm.
because of a skill they have or a desire, like they like doing this thing, right?
Yes.
And so they end up in that business. Do they want to be business owners? Sometimes not necessarily,
Mm.
right? But this is how it's rolled out. Um, they often don't know what they don't know.
Yes.
And when you're creating a business, you've got to wear all the hats,
Yeah.
right? So they're they're often women entrepreneurs are often highly driven and they will sacrifice themselves
Hmm.
for the business,
Hmm.
right? So they can overwork, right? They can get into situations of burnout, exhaustion, right? Like all of that. But they also often are just because they have a business, they doesn't mean they don't have other roles and responsibilities, right?
Right.
Like
Right. Of course.
they're the mom, they're the daughter, they're the caregiver, they're the spouse, they're, all these things. They're the coach of the kids' soccer team, whatever it is, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so it's not, I find that it's often not a situation where they can just, you know, close the office door and leave,
Hmm.
right? And so they carry a lot around with them. And that can really weigh on us heavily,
So
right?
do you find then that uh when you're having to give advice that men and women or sort of the same similar type of advice is given?
No,
Or
actually,
no?
I don't want to like generalize or
No, of
stereotype or
course not.
whatever,
Of
right?
course not. I'm just
But
curious.
yeah, no, but I work with men and women, and
Yes.
I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients over the years. And um, the one thing I would say is that men rarely have a problem in asking for what they want,
Oh, yes.
and they rarely
Yeah.
have a problem in knowing their value or their worth.
Yes.
So in their pricing, in their
Mm.
what their they feel something their time is worth, let's say, right? I don't know all the reasons why. I know some of it, right? It's
Yeah.
just the conditioning of our society over
Yes.
time and stuff.
Yes.
Um, and I see it, right? Like a
Yeah.
man will say a price and not even care, right? Where a woman will be like wanting to justify it. Well,
Yes.
there's this, and then there's that, and then I got to do this and that, and
Yeah.
and and women will often also discount. Men
Yes.
often don't discount, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so they'll be like, well, I can, and then I can, cut $500 off and so there's this kind of inherent inequality
Yeah.
that happens in the marketplace of
Yeah.
business, right? Whereas if you're dealing with a man, he's most likely just going to tell you the price. Here's what it is. You do it or you don't,
Buy
right?
it. Don't buy it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A woman
Yes.
is going to like do this whole dance around you about it, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
really, it's about their own understanding their own value and their own worth and the value of their time and their
Yes.
energy and being confident in talking about money,
Yes.
right? Last
Yes.
night I was at a workshop, and the topic was wealth strategies for retirement, right?
Right.
And it's a room of entrepreneurs. And the man doing the workshop, he was talking about life insurance strategies for retirement planning.
Right.
And there was men and women in the group. And as I looked around, a lot of the women were on their phone
Ah, yeah.
because they're avoiding usually, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I saw a lot of women on their phone, scrolling social media, maybe not feeling like they totally understood what the guy was saying, maybe not feeling comfortable to ask questions,
Yeah.
right? The men were all in on what this dude was talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it was really great information. And so, like, I'm
Yeah.
asking questions, right? I'm like, well, what about this? What about that?
Yeah.
And the lady beside me, she's like, oh, you have such good questions. You're so brave. I said, well, if you've got questions, you got to ask. Like, there's no
Yeah.
stupid questions. Just ask. And
No.
she's like, oh, I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
just, it's something that's
Yeah.
happened. Like, if I use
Yeah.
that lady as an example, it's something that's happened where
Yeah.
she doesn't feel confident to ask a
Yes.
question in front of other people.
Yeah.
And that could be as simple as, I don't know, grade 3, you want put
Yeah.
your hand up and ask a question, and the teacher said
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. Yes,
right?
it
And
could.
then you made a decision that you're not supposed to ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Michelle, thank you for that. That was an excellent example. And also about women not charging enough. It's funny you said that because I had a conversation a few days ago with a woman who is an entrepreneur and she does fairly well, but she told me that she had a coach and because the coach said, "You're not charging enough. You need to charge more." And she said, "No, I don't want to. I'm not comfortable with it." She said, "Well, I can't work with you then because I can't help you."
Mhm.
And I thought, wow, it just really made me think because I think I'm a bit that way. There's
Yeah.
lots of us are
Well,
like that, and
there's
it just really made me think.
yeah, and there's a lot that goes into pricing strategy, right? Like,
Yes, of course.
there's market threshold,
Yes,
obviously, right? Like if the market says it's $200 and you're trying to charge $800,
Yes,
it might be
of
harder,
course.
right?
Yes.
But like I always think about this video I saw with who was it with? I can't remember who it was with. Oh, it was 50 Cent actually. And
Oh,
he was saying a bottle of water at the corner store is $1. A
yeah.
bottle of water at the airport is $5.
Yeah.
And the same bottle of water on an airplane is $10,
Yes.
right? And you'll pay any of those amounts in any given situation if you want the bottle of water,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So I agree that there's things like market threshold and there's, all kinds of stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like I find this in my accounting business, like there's some just basic math things, like your price needs to go up because
Yes.
your costs are too high,
Yes.
right? To
Yes.
compare to what your price is, right? Like your
Right.
margin isn't enough. So either you got to shrink your costs or you got to
Yes.
raise your price. Either
Yes.
or to get more money at the end of the day, right?
Yes,
And if you're
exactly.
not willing to do some of these things, then
Hmm.
yeah, you shouldn't be working with that person,
Yeah.
right? Because you can't help them.
No, I understand. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But I just thought it's a little bit of a wake-up call for people
Hmm.
who hear that little story
Yeah.
that yeah, and yeah. Anyway, it's money is it's a big conversation.
It's a
So
huge
it's
conversation.
a huge. So tell me how you help people in your mastermind. What is it that tell me a few of the core things that you're doing to help women. I'm just going to say women. I know you work with men as well, but for
Yeah.
how you can help women.
Yeah. So the mastermind is for midlife women. And usually they're going through some kind of transitional phase, right? So it might be a health transition, maybe career or business. They've
Right.
exited their business or they're changing career or
Yeah.
empty nest is a big one, right? Like, oh my God, what
Yeah.
do I do with my time now? Right?
Yes.
Relationship breakdown. And so in the mastermind, what we're doing is creating a safe space for people to have an honest conversation about what's going on, right? And the things that are going on kind of underneath that
Hmm.
might not be serving them, right? Sometimes you need that friend to
Yeah.
point out the thing that you can't see,
Right.
right? Like
Yes.
if your goal is to, I don't know, eat healthier, why are you in the McDonald's drive-through kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? Like
Right. Exactly.
now those two things aren't going to work out
Yes.
together, right? So it very much is a community of peers who are going through things together, and I facilitate the conversations. And then the other part of it that I think is really valuable is I bring in experts. Like I bring in people that I've
Mm,
either worked with personally or I
yeah.
know do really good work that are very topic specific, right? So we've had
Yes.
somebody come in and talk about hormone health, right?
Yeah.
We've had somebody come in and talk about sleep. We had a gal come in and talk about understanding your human design. Um, like all kinds of
Yeah.
crazy things,
Yes.
microdosing, like
Yeah.
all the things, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's like it now you can pick up and put down what you want, right? Some things you might be like, oh, I want to learn more. Other things you might be like, yeah, that's not my thing, right?
Yes.
But at
Yes.
least you're being exposed to information, right?
Right.
And you have
Yes.
options, right?
Yes.
And you
Yes.
have maybe a trusted resource. I found for me, in especially in my health journey, over building my business and marriage breakdown and all these things, I was like 100 pounds overweight, right? And so I went through like a 5 year health journey to try to calm my nervous system, regulate
Mhm.
my body, my hormones, like lose the weight, become stronger, all the things. In that, um, I ended up losing the 100 pounds. But the more important thing, I think, is that I came to find myself in that. But along the
Mhm.
way, it was hard. And
Yeah.
I felt really alone. And I felt that people didn't understand what I was going through.
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I needed resources. Like I feel like I talk to everybody about everything,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm going to talk to food, hormones, supplements, like
Yeah.
energy, like all the things,
Yeah.
right? And I would say, like anything, it wasn't one thing that worked, it
Hmm.
was everything, right?
Hmm.
And a big part of that, which is something that you talked about, was understanding the trauma that I had experienced in my life and how my body was holding
Yeah.
onto that, right?
Yeah.
And how it was affecting me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just really about exposing the
Yeah.
ladies to options.
I love that. And I love the being the resource. And I love having all of those different people come in and share their wisdom. And I agree, even if it's not, there's, you can pick and choose what works for you. But even
Totally.
to hear something, to learn about something that you're not necessarily going to do yourself is still knowledge. It still helps you to grow. There's always those little things that can help us along the way. And we never know when that one little nugget is going to be the one that's going to help us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even, like we had a amazing practitioner come in and talk about microdosing psilocybin, right? And one of the ladies, like I was talking about how I did that to help with post-concussion syndrome. So I had suffered a couple of major concussions. I used to play roller derby and hit my
Oh,
head, all the things. And it really helped. And so on that call, I was sharing like, this is how I found Dana, and this is how this helped me.
yes.
And she's going to talk to you about this. One of the gals in the mastermind was like, oh, my daughter has post-concussion syndrome. I
Oh,
wonder if this would help her.
yeah.
Right. And so it
Yeah.
might not even be for you. It could be for
Yes.
somebody else that you care
Yeah.
about, but you might not have even known this thing even existed. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like we don't know what we don't know.
We, oh, we don't know what we don't know. I'm
Right.
shocked. I'm shocked half the time that I don't know what I don't know. And because I'll
Right.
I'll find something out and I'll go, what else is there that I don't know?
Totally.
So much.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
absolutely.
I just I think it's what you're sharing with women is so important. It's so important because we need to lift ourselves up in every way, every
And
way,
each other.
and
Right.
each other, and
Yeah.
each other.
And I
Yes,
think
for sure.
if you think about how cultures used to be, right,
Yes,
where women would be in community with other women of all different ages,
yes,
right? So you'd have the older women, the younger women, everybody in between, and it was a community, right?
yeah.
Um, that doesn't happen as much anymore, right?
No,
We're not living in the same houses, and our communities are not as they're maybe sometimes a little disjointed, and sometimes we can feel very isolated,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so um I think that it really helps to have community and have even specifically the people who are navigating some of the similar things that you are at
yeah,
your stage, right?
yes, yes,
Especially if like me, I don't have a mom. Like I was like, I don't have a mom to tell me what is supposed to happen in menopause. Like,
yeah,
who do you talk to? I don't have a grandma. I don't have a mom. Like, I got no aunts.
yes,
Like, who do you talk to about this
yes.
stuff? Right. So then you're Googling it. You're like, I'm reading books. And the same thing was true when I was pregnant. I was like, I don't have anybody to ask. Like, is this
Mhm,
normal? Right. Like,
mhm.
should I be feeling this way? And so I was kind of like, well, we can talk about these things together, right?
Yeah,
And have that safe space to have these conversations
yeah.
and it to be okay to ask questions.
Yes, yeah. You're so right. You're so right. And it is, um, I think that the whole situation has gotten worse. again, because of so many of us working from home,
Mhm.
alone. I belong to several networking groups, and that's one of the big concerns a lot of people have. So I think that we have definitely become it's become easier to connect with people because here we are.
Totally.
But then on the other hand, it's become harder because that personal connection is just not the way it used to be, for sure.
Absolutely. Like, I think
Yeah.
that there was some great things that happened actually in the pandemic, right? In that
Yeah.
people use Zoom, and, people
Yeah.
are even probably in some ways more connected now than ever before.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is even easier now to isolate yourself,
Yes, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
Especially if you're feeling overwhelm or anxiety or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's easy to be like, oh, I'm just gonna hermit over here, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that probably, like, there's a time for that, but that can not be super great, right?
For
Like,
sure.
it could be a downward spiral.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. No, you're so right. Michelle, can I ask you a few questions? I've got a few
Yeah,
favorite questions I like to ask my guests.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
this one's going to be almost a silly one because I've been following you for several years and you've been everywhere. But here's your question. If
Yeah.
you could travel anywhere in the world tomorrow, where would you go and why?
Oh, wow. Well, I have traveled a lot and I've seen amazing things. But there is one really special thing I'd like to see, which I'd like to see the polar bears in northern Canada.
Oh,
Um, I think, like, to see like the Arctic and the polar bears, the ice, the like all of that,
yeah.
I think would be amazing.
Yes.
And I haven't done that yet. So
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite way to unwind after a busy day?
Oh, oh my goodness. So my guilty pleasure, probably like a lot of people, and I have to monitor myself, is scrolling Instagram reels.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
My Instagram feed is definitely not business related. It's full of dogs and cats and
Yeah.
goats and chickens and gardening and all these crazy things. And that it is a I have to make sure it doesn't go on for too long, right? But it is a fun way because I'm actually, like, I'll send little reels to my friends and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And it gets going back and forth
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if outside of that, and I try not to do that too much because it's a little brain numbing, right?
Yeah.
I really enjoy, like, I live in Chilliwack like you.
Yeah.
We've got great, like, hiking and mountains
It's
and
beautiful
parks and
here.
lakes, and
Yeah.
I've got two golden retrievers, so I love going out with my dogs and just being
Oh,
in nature.
yeah.
um I find that really grounding, and so
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
But I get the scrolling thing, and part of it, I think, for people like you, my husband comes home from work and does his scrolling thing for a bit. I just leave him be. It's the mind. If you're
Yeah,
using your mind all day long and your work is all about your mind, yeah, you just need to veg for a bit. Yeah, just
totally.
relax that mind. Okay, what is a favorite motivational quote that keeps you going?
Oh, well, I'd say the one right now that is really pertinent for me is, if you don't like a situation, go create an agreement that changes it.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So I was, a friend of mine shared a video with me on the difference between expectations and agreements. And I
Ah,
realized I had a lot of expectations of
yeah,
people,
yeah.
and they didn't necessarily agree to those expectations.
Of course they didn't.
Right.
That
And
is
so,
very interesting.
yeah. And so it
Yeah,
leads to you feeling disappointed.
of
Right.
course.
But they didn't agree to it. So it's not fair. right?
No, I get
And
that. That's
yeah, and
that's
so I,
really good.
yeah, I was like, oh, well, this is kind of a game changer, I think. And so one of the quotes, it was actually a TEDx talk, but the guy said, if you don't like a situation, if you're finding yourself in a situation that you don't like, you need to go and create an agreement with that person that changes that situation, right?
Mhm.
And if that person, if you can't create an agreement, then you need to get out of that,
Yes, yes,
right?
yeah,
It's not resonant, it's not
yeah.
in alignment, right?
Ooh, that's a
So,
good one. I like
yeah.
that one. Okay. What's your favorite book that inspires you?
Oh, I love books. Let me see. Um, a great book, business wise, I would
Yeah.
say that I've read recently is by Dan Martell, called Buy Back Your Time.
Oh,
That's a phenomenal book if you're a business owner, entrepreneur. And I think one of my favorite kind of novel books,
yeah.
anything by Colleen Hoover. I love her. I think she's awesome. But also, I love Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, good. That's a good one. That is
Yeah,
a good one.
yeah.
Okay. If you could have dinner with any woman in history, who would it be and why?
Ooh, oh my goodness. Um, I think right now, because I'm watching her show, I think I'd love to have dinner with Pamela Anderson. I'm watching her shows, the
Yeah,
cooking one and also the Reno one
yeah,
that's on TV.
yeah.
And I'm really inspired by her story and her shift,
Yes.
right? Like I think
Yeah,
we've all probably seen she's kind of gone makeup free and
yeah,
all the things, right? And I know like she's been a vegan for a long time. I'm
yes.
totally aware of that. But I really I'd love to have dinner with her and just like
Yeah,
I think there's a lot going on for her and
yes.
she has navigated a lot of change.
Yes, she has. Yes. Well, well, maybe Pamela will happen to see this and invite you for dinner. Wouldn't that be
Right?
something? You never
Right?
know. Put it out to the universe.
Right?
Okay. And my last question. If you could whisper one truth in the ear of every woman who's struggling right now, what would you say?
Everything you desire is possible.
Ah,
Have to
that's
have clarity
beautiful.
though.
That's
Like you have to
beautiful.
know what you desire, right?
You have to know.
And like anything is possible. Absolutely anything.
Wow. Love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it so much. Is there any words of wisdom that you'd like to share before? Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So I will have Michelle's details on how you can reach out to her in the details section of the YouTube and of the podcast. So if you want to reach out to her, go ahead and you can find her information there. Okay, Michelle, any words of wisdom that you would like to share?
Um, I think it's back to anything is possible, right?
Mhm.
Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter, right? But if we can approach our life with clear vision, clarity of what we desire to experience, it's like you said, it's like putting it out there. Just put it out
Mhm.
there,
Mhm.
right? Be
Yeah.
willing to say it out loud.
Yes.
And if you're
Yes.
not, be willing to look at why.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah, exactly. And I would just like to add, because I heard this recently, where a woman doesn't use the word goals, she uses the word desire.
Mm,
I love that. So I'm going to quit using the word goals and
yeah,
I'm going to start using the word what I desire, which is the same as my goals, but
totally.
it does Feel different.
feels different, right?
Way different. Yeah. Yeah. So that was perfect. Well, thank you again, Michelle, and thank all of you for watching this episode. And we'll have another one coming soon. So you all take care.